In our headlines on this Friday, July 11th, here in South Korea. The first high-level diplomatic talks among Seoul, Washington and Tokyo since the launch of the Lee Jae-myung administration took place in Malaysia on this Friday on the sidelines of the ASEAN-related meetings. Meanwhile, the local stock market maintains its momentum, soaring to levels unseen in almost 4 years as investors bet on prospects of favourable policy transitions and continued strong performance in the chip market. And South Korea's minimum wage for next year is set at 10,320 won per hour, up 2.9% from the current rate in a unanimous decision among labour, management and the public, the first in 17 years. We start with news out of Malaysia, where the first high-level diplomatic talks among Seoul, Washington and Tokyo since the launch of the Lee Jae-myung administration took place. I have our foreign affairs correspondent Oh Soo-young standing by live with the latest. Soo-young, welcome. So I hear this trilateral diplomatic interaction, Soo-young, was not arranged in advance and came about rather unexpectedly. Could you tell us more?
Sure, Sunny. Good afternoon, by the way. So South Korea's first Vice Foreign Minister Park Geun-ju held trilateral talks with U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Japanese Foreign Minister Takeshi Iwaya on the sidelines of the ASEAN-related meetings in Kuala Lumpur on Friday. Now, their talks lasted for about 40 minutes. And according to the Foreign Ministry statement, which was just released, actually, they reaffirmed the importance of their trilateral cooperation and agreed to jointly counter North Korea's illicit cyber activities and deepening military cooperation with Russia. Now, they also reaffirmed their shared commitment to North Korea's complete denuclearization. Now, this comes as Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov is due to visit Pyongyang after the ASEAN sessions on Friday for, quote, strategic discussions. Now, according to Marco Rubio's office, they also discussed their, quote, indispensable trilateral partnership in the resilience of critical technologies, supply chains, energy, trusted digital infrastructure, and shipbuilding. Now, Vice Minister Park is also believed to have conveyed South Korea's position on ongoing tariff negotiations with the United States. Both Seoul and Tokyo recently received letters from President Trump notifying them that Washington will impose 25% reciprocal tariffs on August 1st. Now, the three sides met on a ministerial level for the last time in April at the NATO foreign ministers meeting in Brussels. But this is the first trilateral senior-level meeting of diplomats under the Lee Jae-myung administration. And as you said, the trilateral was rather unexpected, as Vice Minister Park is attending in the place of South Korea's yet-to-be-confirmed Foreign Minister nominee Cho Hyun. So the fact that this meeting was held, despite Park's deputy status, arguably signifies Washington and Tokyo's strong commitment to this trilateral cooperation and their diplomacy with Seoul.
Right. Soo-young, now those talks among diplomats there from the three countries, of course, took place on the margins of multiple meetings this week led by the ASEAN. Soo-young, could you walk us through some of them?
Yes, of course. So South Korea's Vice Minister is attending key discussions on Friday, the East Asia Summit, the ASEAN Regional Forum itself, and Seoul's dialogue with ministers from Mekong countries. On Thursday, Park took part in a meeting of ASEAN and its three Northeast Asian partners, which include South Korea, Japan and China. He emphasized Seoul's commitment to strengthening trilateral cooperation with Tokyo and Beijing in a way that complements ASEAN's goals, especially amid rising uncertainty and challenges in the Indo-Pacific region. Now, earlier in the day, Park took part in the Korea-ASEAN Foreign Ministers meeting to adopt an updated 5-year plan to fulfill this comprehensive strategic partnership reached last year. Now, this new action plan includes words like peace, not just security, as well as cooperation on the Korean Peninsula, along with cybersecurity, maritime issues, and digital transition.
Right, I see. All right, Soo-young, thank you for the coverage of the trilateral ministerial gathering, as well as more in Malaysia among diplomats from Seoul, Tokyo, and Washington. Thank you for that report. Moving forward then, back here in this part of the world on this Friday, a trilateral adrill took place over international waters of the southern island of Jeju. South Korea's KF-16 and Japan's F-2 fighters were joined by at least one US B-52H bomber, marking the latter's first deployment to the Korean peninsula this year. The training comes in line with a three-way meeting here in Seoul among top military officers, that is, from the three countries earlier this morning. Admiral Kim Myung-soo stressed the significance of the trilateral partnership amid the threats posed by North Korea's nuclear weapons and missile ambitions. Now, his U.S. counterpart, General Dan Kane, also highlighted the importance of the security cooperation to strengthen deterrence against an unprecedented military buildup by North Korea and China. Meanwhile, where security is concerned, conflict prevention is better than crisis response. Now, this is according to President Lee Jae-myung during his first National Security Council meeting back on Thursday that touched upon North Korea and more. Our presidential office correspondent Song Yoo-jin reports.
South Korean President Lee Jae-myung says peaceful coexistence with North Korea is, quote, the most realistic and practical path to safeguarding national security. He made the remarks during his first National Security Council meeting on Thursday. The president has already taken steps to de-escalate tensions, including suspending loudspeaker broadcasts along the inter-Korean border, a move that prompted the North to halt its propaganda campaign. The administration says it aims to build on that momentum.
The government will do everything it can to help people feel the Korean peninsula is becoming more peaceful and secure. There were discussions on ways to restore severed communication channels and links between the two Koreas.
This is in line with how President Lee views the path to safety.
The president noted that in matters of security, prevention is always more important than responding afterward.
When asked whether the meeting covered trade talks with the United States, Kang said the discussions explored a range of options, with national interests as the top priority. South Korea is pursuing what it calls a package deal, which was discussed earlier this week in Washington between National Security Advisor Wi Sung-rak and his American counterpart, Marco Rubio.
Talks include issues across the board, including trade, investment, purchasing goods, and security. We suggested taking all this into a package to make progress in negotiations.
Thursday's meeting, which lasted over 2 hours, was attended by the Prime Minister, senior officials from the Ministries of Foreign Affairs, Unification, Defense, and Interior, as well as the National Intelligence Service and the Office of National Security. Song Yoo-jin, Arirang News.
And President Lee Jae-myung appointed his ministers for culture and land earlier on this Friday, completing his roster of all 19 members of his first cabinet. Our correspondent Yoon Jung-min tells us who they are.
President Lee Jae-myung has tapped Choi Hui-young, current CEO of travel platform Noor Universe, to lead the nation's Ministry of Culture, Sports and Tourism. The journalist-turned-CEO has brought enough experience to materialize President Lee's vision of a K-culture market worth 300 trillion won, which is worth some 218 billion US dollars. That's according to Lee's chief of staff, Kang Hoon-sik, on Friday. The same day, the ruling Democratic Party of Korea's lawmaker Kim Yoon-duk was named to lead the Ministry of Land, Infrastructure and Transport. The three-term lawmaker has served on the National Assembly's Land, Infrastructure and Transport Committee, in which Kang says he has proven competency in legislation and policy.
When it comes to real estate, he is expected to approach the issues from ordinary people's perspectives, not as a scholar or bureaucrat.
President Lee Jae-myung has warned of zero tolerance on speculation in real estate, often leading to housing market instability. The new land minister's focus will also be on balanced regional growth, while putting forth new visions for transportation and mobility, among others. With Friday's announcement, the appointment of the nominees for the Lee administration's first cabinet has been completed.
President Lee said he expects all government ministries to yield results in a speedy manner with competence and loyalty. He asked them to break away from customs in a bold manner and lead changes with fresh and flexible ideas for innovation in the society.
Kang went on to say the new administration will proactively take on pending issues, such as the U.S. pressure on tariffs, extreme heat at home, and the economy in the doldrums. The nominees will undergo confirmation hearings at the National Assembly, but they are not required to be approved for appointment. Yoon Jung-min, Arirang News.
U.S. tariff threats appear to be doing little to dampen investor sentiment in the local stock market, with the KOSPI soaring past the 3,200 mark at one point during trade on this Friday afternoon, before closing its session slightly lower. Our correspondent Kim Do-yeon covers the latest rally and more.
The benchmark KOSPI once again hit a new yearly high during intraday trading on Friday, surpassing the 3,200 mark briefly for the first time in 3 years and 10 months, at one point reaching 3,216. But it was a mixed trend as it fell later to close at 3,175.77, following a strong sell-off by foreign and institutional investors that caused it to briefly turn negative during the session. Boosted by overnight gains in shares of U.S. tech, major Korean semiconductor stocks saw simultaneous strength. SK Hynix rose more than 3% during the session, briefly surpassing the 300,000 Korean won mark for the first time. The KOSDAQ also opened slightly higher and reclaimed the 800 level during intraday trading for the first time in 12 sessions. The total market capitalization also surpassed 3,000 trillion won for the first time. While there are some concerns about a breather after the rapid short-term rally, the overall view is that upward momentum remains intact.
It seems that continued expectations for the new administration's policies are still prompting some market funds to flow into the stock market. In addition, hopes for further discussions, such as on dividend taxes following the recent amendments to the Commercial Act, also appear to be having a positive impact on the domestic stock market.
This comes after Thursday when the KOSPI closed at 3,183.23, its highest finish in 3 years and 10 months. Comparing Friday's close to the lowest of the year on April 9th, the KOSPI is up around 38.5% in a matter of 3 months. With reciprocal tariffs from the U.S. scheduled to take effect next month, the market largely believes these concerns have already been priced in. Expectations for interest rate cuts and an additional stock market stimulus are also seen as supporting investor sentiment. The previous all-time high for the KOSPI was 3,316.08 points, recorded on June 25, 2021, and hopes are growing in the securities industry that this level could be surpassed soon. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
And Bitcoin continued its rally to hit yet another high over the past 24 hours. According to US-based crypto exchange Coinbase, Bitcoin hit $116,474 at 5:40 p.m. on Thursday U.S. Eastern Time. Pundits are linking the recent rally to steady capital inflows into exchange-traded funds and the growing presence of companies adopting cryptocurrency as an asset. South Korea's hourly minimum wage has been set at 10,321 starting next year, up 2.9% from the current rate, in a unanimous decision among the labor, management and the public, the first in 17 years. Our Kim Bo-kyung reports.
Starting next year, the hourly minimum wage will be 10,320 Korean won, around $7.50. This as the Minimum Wage Commission reached an agreement on Thursday to raise the minimum wage by 290 Korean won, that is 2.9% from this year's minimum wage of 10,030 Korean won per hour. If one works a standard monthly workload of 209 hours, the new minimum wage translates to a monthly income of 2,156,881. The commission is made up of 9 representatives, each from labor, management, and the general public, obliged to review the new minimum wage by mid-July for the labor minister to make a formal announcement by early August every year. This year's decision marks the first agreement reached among the three sides in 17 years. If an agreement cannot be made, the increase is decided by majority vote. The 2.9% increase is the lowest first-year hike under any administration since 2000, though minimum wage increases tend to be higher than average in the first year of a new administration. During first year of the Moon Jae-in administration, the minimum wage was raised by more than 16%, while for the first year of the Yoon Suk-yeol administration, it went up by 5%. The management side said they agreed to the decision after much deliberation.
It was a very difficult decision, made based on the thought that it would be better to support harmony and unity as the new government begins, rather than create more conflict.
While the labor side said the government should come up with measures to help low-paid workers.
It would be the Lee Jae-myung administration's task to deal with any areas that are insufficient. It must come up with strong measures to help low-wage workers cover their living costs.
After the commission submits an agreed minimum wage for next year to the Labor Ministry, the ministry will finalize and announce it by August 5th after the review process. The new rate will take effect starting the very first day of January next year. The presidential office called the commission's decision significant and added that the government will actively ensure the minimum wage is followed through promotion, guidance, and supervision. Kim Bo-kyung, Arirang News.
On the international front, Ukraine was the center of talks between the heads of NATO and the White House on Thursday amid a fresh onslaught of aerial assaults by Russia in recent days. Our Lee Seung-jae has the latest.
NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte and U.S. President Donald Trump held phone talks on Thursday to discuss the ongoing war between Russia and Ukraine. According to Rutte on X, he spoke with the U.S. leader to condemn Russia's recent large-scale airstrikes on Ukraine and urged the U.S. and other allies to provide emergency support to Ukraine. The phone talks come as Russia recently conducted airstrikes on Kyiv, killing 2 and injuring 25 others. Meanwhile, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio held talks with his Russian counterpart Sergei Lavrov on Thursday in Malaysia. During the talks, the two sides exchanged new ideas for peace in Ukraine.
I think it's a new and a different approach. Again, I wouldn't characterize it as something that guarantees a peace, but it's a concept that we'll take back to the president today and here as soon as I finish with you.
During the talks, Rubio reportedly expressed Washington's frustration that more progress has not been made on ending the war in Ukraine. Rubio says he had expressed to his Russian counterpart what President Trump has stressed about there not being enough flexibility on the Russian side to bring about an end to the conflict. In the hopes of coordinating a multinational reassurance force ready to help Ukraine after a potential ceasefire, a new headquarters in Paris will serve as the base for the Western-led Coalition of the Willing for 1 year. The announcement comes as a virtual meeting of the member nations' leaders, including French President Emmanuel Macron, Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky, Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, and other European leaders took place on Thursday. The headquarters in the French capital is led jointly by France and the UK and will rotate to London after a year in order to allow for flexible military contributions from partner nations. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
In other news now, we are looking ahead to the weekend, and for those of you here seeking a meaningful indoor activity away from the scorching sun, do consider a visit to the Seoul Calligraphy Art Museum that is hosting a special showcase of Hangeul in memory of a master Hangeul calligrapher. Our Pyeongbo was there.
Geometric beauty and fluid structure, materialized in black ink. Korean calligraphy, or Hangeul Seo, is an art form rooted in rhythm, balance, and the expressive power of the written line. Hangeul offers a unique aesthetic language of its own, one that is now being rediscovered as a distinct art form. A new retrospective at the Seoul Arts Center shines a spotlight on this very tradition through the work of a master who dedicated his entire career to breaking away from the better-known Chinese characters and elevating Hangeul calligraphy into high art, Pyeongbo Seo Hee-hwan.
Master Seo Hee-hwan's artist pseudonym, Pyeongbo, meaning to walk steadily without rest, was given by his teacher, Son Jae-hyung. It reflects the idea that even slow progress leads to mastery, as long as you don't stop.
Although he was the first artist to receive the Presidential Prize for a work of Hangeul calligraphy, his work also drew criticism for resembling his teacher's style. Seo accepted the critique and embarked on a journey to find his own voice. That journey began with the return to the roots of Hangeul. In a section titled Deep-Rooted Tree, we see how Seo turned to early printed text from the time of King Sejong. This is Seo Hee-hwan's interpretation of Worin Cheongangjigok, or Songs of the Moon's Reflection on a Thousand Rivers. Originally compiled by King Sejong, the creator of Hangeul, it's a Buddhist hymn book dedicated to his late wife, Queen Seo-hwan. The interpretation by Seo Hee-hwan contains around 10,000 Hangeul characters on a single folding screen. By studying the typeface-like Panbonche styles from early Joseon, Seo grounded himself in the fundamentals of Hangeul and gradually shaped a calligraphic language that was uniquely his own. He explored more artistic styles as well, like this piece where the brush naturally flows into the next character. Commemorating 30 years since Seo's passing, the exhibition runs until mid-October at the Seoul Calligraphy Art Museum Gallery, and there are also programs where visitors can try their hand at Hangeul calligraphy. This retrospective gives visitors the chance to see up front that Hangeul Seoye is more than just writing. It's visual art, where each stroke carries emotion and history. Pyeongchang, Arirang News.
And more than 10 K-pop artists and producers have been added to the National Academy of Recording Arts and Sciences, making them eligible to vote in the Grammy Awards. According to Korean entertainment company HYBE, 16 of its artists and producers, including Chico and Slow Rabbit, will be able to cast their ballots starting from the 68th Grammys next February. Now, some of the current members with the right to vote include all members of BTS. The Recording Academy selects new members each year through evaluations by current members.
This is The World Now, bringing you the latest stories from around the globe. In the United States, a federal judge in New Hampshire has issued a nationwide preliminary injunction blocking President Donald Trump's executive order aimed at ending birthright citizenship. Judge Joseph LaPlante ruled on Thursday that when such an order is in effect, it would prevent tens of thousands of newborns, an estimated 150,000 annually, from obtaining automatic citizenship, violating the 14th Amendment's guarantee. The judge referenced the Supreme Court's recent guidance that limits the use of nationwide injunctions but allows class action mechanisms to protect constitutional rights. The judge also certified a class action lawsuit on behalf of U.S.-born children who will be impacted. The injunction applies to all U.S.-born children after February 20th, 2025. Supporters of birthright citizenship hailed the decision, while the White House called it judicially excessive. In Europe, Greece has temporarily halted processing asylum applications from migrants arriving by sea from North Africa. Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis, addressing Parliament on July 9th, stated that the suspension will last an initial 3 months, citing a surge of more than 7,300 arrivals on the islands of Crete and Gavdos so far this year, compared to just over 5,000 in all of 2024. The arrivals, mainly from Sudan, Egypt, and Bangladesh, have been transiting through Libya. Mitsotakis described the move as an emergency response and authorized the swift return of those entering the country illegally. The government is also strengthening cooperation with Libyan authorities and deploying patrol vessels. Humanitarian groups denounced the policy as illegal and inhumane. The UN Refugee Agency also expressed serious concern, saying the right to seek asylum is a fundamental human right. An original Hermes Birkin bag, designed in 1984 for Jane Birkin, sold at Sotheby's Paris on Thursday for approximately $10 million, setting a new record as the most expensive handbag ever auctioned. The starting price was slightly over $1 million, with a Japanese collector winning the bid over the phone. The leather handbag, created after Birkin famously sketched it on an airplane sick bag, bears her initials JB and a fixed shoulder strap, unlike commercially sold models. Worn by Birkin for nearly 9 years, the bag was originally auctioned in 1994 to benefit HIV/AIDS charities and subsequently sold in 2000. Finally, Thailand's beloved pygmy hippo Mudeng turned 1 year old on Thursday at Khao Keo Open Zoo in Chonburi, marking her first birthday with a 4-day celebration. The festivities kicked off with over 12,000 visitors on day 1, including fans who traveled from abroad, and free entry for children under 12. Activities included a 20-kilogram tropical fruitcake, a parade, and photo exhibitions of Mudeng. Mudeng, whose name translates to bouncy pork, has sparked global social media fascination since her birth on July 10, 2024, drawing millions of views and boosting zoo visits. Choi Ji-hee, Arirang News.
Today, Seoul's morning temperature dropped to 24.6 degrees Celsius, which is the first time in 12 days that we have escaped from the tropical nights. However, there are still many places in the west of the country which saw tropical nights. For the time being, tropical nights will continue. There is extremely hot weather during the day as heat wave warnings continue in the west of the country. The daytime temperature soared to 36 degrees in Seoul today. This coast took a break from the heat. This heat wave will continue mainly in western areas tomorrow. Morning will start warm tomorrow at 20 to 25 degrees Celsius across the country. Daily highs will move up to 36 degrees in Seoul, Gyeongju, Busan, Jeju, 30 degrees. There's rain forecast on Neon Jeju Island during this weekend. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
Those are the headlines at this hour here in South Korea. Coming up next is our daily panel session. Do stay with us.